Hello students, in this video we see how method overriding works in C#. In previous video we have already seen what is the concept behind method overloading. See this get data method I am overloading 3 times, right? But I am using these parameter list different at each definition of my overloaded definition. So this is the concept behind method overloading, where I am defining the same function name, same function named definitions multiple times in same class. But method overriding concept is what which is comes under inheritance only. We can't use in single class. This concept method overriding concept we can't use in single class, but we can use it in method in inheritance. Okay, and method overriding means we use same to same method signatures in base class and derived class. One method is in our base class and another method is in our derived class. Same to same method with same with same parameter list. If we want to define the same method inside base class and inside derived class, then that concept comes under method overriding. Means here we have already defining display method. Now this is my base class method. This method display is of my student class, right? Here I am defining this display method inside student class, and inside marks class my method name is display marks. Now if I want to override that display method, right, if I want to override this display method in derived class, then I can override it by using the same signatures. Means now in this way we can define this display method. Now display method already there inside base class, and now I want to override this display method inside derived class. So this prototype or this line is same as I am using inside the base class, with same number of parameters, with same return type, and all is same. Now if I want to call this display method of base class, now this if I am calling this display method as it is, then there is a recursion. I am calling this display method inside this same display method. So control indefinitely executing this display method, and control can't go outside this display method because there is a recursion. But I don't want a recursion here. I want to call this display method of base class and then continuously execute these lines and terminate this definition. This I want. So if I am using a display method or calling this display method as it is, then compiler takes as it is calling this method only, derived version only. So I need to use here base keyword, base dot display, then compiler calls or compiler will call display method of base class, and then control goes to these lines, and these lines will be executed, and after it display method will be closed. So in this way, if we want to call the base version of a display method, then we use here base dot display, then control execute or compiler execute the display method of base class. So these two lines will be executed, and then derived class display method will be executed line by line. So in this way we can override the base class methods inside our derived class. If we don't like the behavior of base class method, whatever the code written here inside this display method, I don't want to execute that code, and if I want to execute my code So we can override that base class method and change the behavior of that base class method. Okay, if we are calling the display method of base class as it is, then we get this behavior, or we get the output of this these lines. But if we don't want to execute these lines, or if we don't want to execute this behavior, this base class behavior, then we can override, right? We can override that base class method, and by overriding it we can write any code which we want inside that overridden method. So whenever we call the display method inside this main, now there is no any display marks method. Now whenever we call this display method, my control doesn't go to the base class version of display method. My control always goes towards the derived version. So base class behavior will not be executed when we call this display method. I don't want to execute the base version, but I want to execute my version, my overridden method. So in this way you can override your methods or base class methods inside your derived class. Here I am writing base class, right? Means here I am writing base class and I am writing derived class. But sometime what happens, base class written by someone else, and he or she written the code for a particular method, but I don't want to execute her or him or that code. Okay, I don't want to execute that code which is written inside the base class. I want to execute my code. So we can override those methods inside our derived class, and whatever you want to write the code inside your method, write it and call it. When you call this overriding method by using the dot property of your derived class object, the control always execute the derived version, and compiler doesn't execute the base version. So we skip the base version of that method and execute our behavior. So in this way you can override the methods of a base class in your derived class. Inside method overriding, the signature or prototype is exactly same as base class. There is no any difference between parameters and like that. If we use the same function or same method inside same class number of times, here I am using get data, then get data, then third time get data, but all these methods inside same class, right? If we are defining the same method name functions multiple times inside same class, but there is a different parameter list, then that concept comes under method overloading, right? Method overloading. But if I am using this display method inside base class and that same method I am implementing in derived class, then that is the concept of method overriding, where all the parameter list and method name is same to same as the base class version. So in this way method overriding concept works. If I run this program, then we see what we get. And if we still want to display or call the base version, then by using base keyword you can call base version of your overriding method. You can call the base version by using base keyword. Inside this we are calling that base version here, base.display. In this way, if you want to call the base version, then by using base keyword you can call it. Now this is my output. We are not interested in output, but we need to understand the concept of overriding. So this is the concept behind method overriding. Thank you.